last shift. Ethan had been looking forward to this night for weeks. The start of his new job at the old gas station, just beyond the town limits. It was a quiet, forgotten place, surrounded by thick woods and a long stretch of empty highway. As he unlocked the heavy glass door and stepped inside, a wave of cold air hit him, carrying the scent of gasoline mixed with dust and something else, something faintly metallic like old blood. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, flickering unevenly, casting long, strange shadows along the aisles. Boxes of snacks and soda cans sat in disarray, like no one had cared for months. Ethan's footsteps echoed loudly in the empty store. His eyes caught the old rotary phone on the wall, an odd thing to see in this day and age. Tom, the older man who'd worked nights here for years, handed Ethan the keys with a serious look. "Listen, kid," he said quietly. "This place has a history. Some folks say it's haunted. Don't ignore the feeling if something seems wrong. Just be careful." Ethan chuckled nervously, trying to hide his unease. He told himself it was just an old story meant to scare new workers. But as the clock crept closer to midnight, that old feeling started to grow, a tight knot in his stomach and a quiet whisper in the back of his mind telling him to watch carefully. Outside, the wind howled through the trees. Inside, the store was silent except for the soft hum of the old refrigeration units and the occasional drip from a leaking pipe. Ethan tried to stay busy, restocking shelves, checking the register, but the silence was heavy, pressing down on him like a weight. Every few minutes, Ethan glanced toward the door, half expecting someone to walk in. But the parking lot was empty and bathed in an eerie glow from the flickering street lamp. Then, just after 2 a.m., Ethan noticed a shadow outside the glass door, a figure standing still in the cold night air. At first, he thought it might be a lost traveler, but as he squinted, the outline became clearer. A woman dressed in a long, flowing gray dress that looked like it belonged to another century. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and her dark eyes held a strange emptiness. She didn't blink or move, just stared at Ethan as if she was waiting for something, or someone. The mist swirled around her feet, curling up like ghostly fingers reaching for the ground. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. He wanted to speak, to ask if she was okay, but his voice failed him. His heart pounded loudly in his chest, drowning out everything else. For what felt like minutes but might have been seconds, Ethan stood frozen, unable to move. The cold seeped into his bones as the woman's presence seemed to fill the entire parking lot with a chilling silence. Then, as suddenly as she had appeared, the figure faded away into the fog. Ethan blinked, and when he looked again, there was nothing but the empty night. His hands trembled as he reached for the door, half expecting her to step inside. But the gas station remained eerily quiet, and Ethan was left wondering if he had imagined it all. Over the next few nights, Ethan's fear didn't fade, it deepened. The gas station seemed to take on a life of its own. Every corner he turned, every shelf he passed felt like someone, or something, was right behind him. The first time he heard the footsteps, he was restocking drinks. Clear, slow steps echoed from aisle 4. He rushed over, expecting to see someone, but the aisle was empty. The cameras showed nothing. He laughed nervously, trying to shake it off. Then came the whispers. At first, he thought it was the wind, but the words were too deliberate. Muffled voices, close to his ear, but impossible to understand. Like a conversation happening just beneath the surface of reality. One night, while counting bills at the register, he heard a soft creak, like a door slowly opening. He turned toward the storeroom. The door, which he was sure he'd locked, now hung slightly ajar. Beyond it, only blackness. Ethan stepped forward, calling out, "Hello." His voice was small, swallowed by the silence. No reply, just the soft, cold breath of air escaping the dark. His fingers trembled as he flicked on the light, but the bulb flickered and died instantly. In the darkness, he thought he saw her again, the woman. A glimpse of a gray dress. A pale face in the corner. But when he blinked, it was gone. His heart pounded. The gas station was no longer just haunted. It was alive, feeding on his fears. Tom returned unexpectedly one night around midnight, stepping inside with a heavy look in his eyes. Ethan was relieved to see him, but also unsettled. Tom looked like a man carrying a secret too heavy to bear. "You've seen her, haven't you?" Tom asked quietly, not needing a reply. Ethan nodded slowly. Tom sat down across from him at the counter, sighing deeply. Her name was Grace. Years ago, she used to pass through here often. Sweet girl, always wore that same gray dress. Then one rainy night, she just vanished. They say she was hit just down the road, but there were details that didn't add up. Tom paused, his eyes unfocused, lost in memory. Some folks say she was running from someone, others believe she was taken. But one thing's certain, her spirit never left. Since that night, every new worker here sees her. She doesn't speak. She just watches. Waiting. Ethan's throat was dry. Waiting for what? Tom looked at him, voice low. Maybe for the truth. Maybe for help. Or maybe just for someone to notice she was ever real. A long silence passed between them. Listen, Tom finally said, standing up. Don't dig too deep. This place holds things that don't want to be found. If you start pulling at threads, you might not like what unravels. Then he left, without another word, leaving Ethan alone again, but not really alone. The next night was different. Ethan arrived for his shift with a heaviness pressing on his chest. The air outside felt still, unnaturally still, as if the world around the gas station had paused. Even the buzzing lights and rumble of trucks on the highway were absent. Just silence. At 2:13 a.m., the air inside suddenly shifted. A cold breeze swept through the aisles, despite every door being shut tight. Ethan's breath caught. He felt it before he saw it, the pressure, the weight in the air, then the lights flickered. And there she was, standing at the far end of aisle 3, facing him. Grace, the woman in the gray dress. Only this time, she was inside. Her skin was whiter than paper, her long hair matted and dark. Her hands hung limply at her sides. Her lips didn't move, but Ethan heard her voice, faint, hollow, like an echo in his mind. Help me. Ethan's knees weakened. He tried to step back, but his legs refused. She took a slow step forward. The overhead lights buzzed louder, flickering violently as if reacting to her presence. The cold deepened. Ethan whispered, "What do you want?" Grace tilted her head slightly, her expression full of sadness and something else. Then she spoke just one word. Buried. Suddenly, every bulb in the station exploded in a burst of glass and sparks. The room went black. Ethan covered his ears, heart pounding, eyes darting. But when the emergency lights kicked on, she was gone. In the silence that followed, Ethan stood shaking. Her final word burned into his mind. The next day, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling. Buried. What did it mean? He skipped sleep and began searching online archives, old town records, anything about Grace's death. He learned her full name, Grace Whitmore. 27. Vanished in 1994. She was last seen arguing with a man at this very gas station the night she disappeared. Her body was never found. The case went cold after only 2 weeks. A newspaper clipping mentioned witnesses seeing a man drive off with her. Another article hinted at foul play. Rumors swirled that a local police officer, long since retired, may have been involved. But no evidence ever surfaced. That night, Ethan returned to work with a new purpose. He was no longer afraid, he was determined. While taking out the trash behind the station, something strange happened. The wind picked up sharply, then stopped. His flashlight flickered. In the soft dirt near the back fence, Ethan noticed something, a patch of ground slightly raised, almost unnatural. He dropped to his knees, began digging with his hands, uncovering rusted cloth, then what looked like bone. Suddenly, the air grew ice cold. Behind him, a whisper. "Thank you." He turned, and for the briefest moment he saw Grace, no longer twisted or pale, but peaceful. Her eyes full of relief. Then she was gone, like dust in the breeze. Ethan sat in the dirt, overwhelmed. He hadn't just uncovered evidence. He had helped a lost soul find rest. Final night came with an eerie calm. Ethan arrived early, just before dusk, sitting in his car outside the gas station longer than usual. The building looked different now, no less old or broken, but quieter. Not empty, just still, as if it knew something was ending. He stepped inside and switched on the lights. They flickered once, then steadied. For hours, nothing happened. No whispers, no shadows, no cold gusts from nowhere. It felt like Grace was gone. But Ethan knew better. Something unfinished still lingered. At 3:06 a.m., the lights dimmed slightly. And then she appeared. Not outside the glass this time, not in the aisle, but standing near the old phone on the wall. Her form was clearer now. Her face was no longer twisted in pain but calm, almost grateful. Her dress still flowed like mist, but it no longer felt like death followed her. She looked at Ethan, and this time she smiled. No words passed between them. No whispers. But Ethan felt at peace. Forgiveness. Release. He stepped toward her slowly, and as he did, a soft breeze passed through the station, brushing his face like a final goodbye. Her form began to fade, dissolving like morning fog. First her hands, then her dress, then her eyes. Those deep, hollow eyes that once held pain, now finally at rest. The room warmed. The silence no longer felt heavy. Ethan stood alone again, but this time it was different. He walked outside, standing beneath the old flickering street lamp as the first hint of morning touched the horizon. Grace was gone. The nightmare had ended, but her story and the part he played in it would stay with him forever. Dash!